So I now have the pleasure of introducing Loung Ung, who's a speaker, an activist, a best-selling author, and co-screenplay writer of First They Killed My Father, the critically acclaimed 2017 Netflix original movie based on her memoir. Born in Cambodia, Loung was only 5 years old when the Khmer Rouge seized power on April 17, 1975, leading to the deaths of 2 million Cambodians, including both of her parents, her 2 sisters, and 20 other relatives. In 1980, Loung, along with her brother and his wife, resettled in America as refugees. Driven by a profound commitment to peace and justice, Loung has championed various causes, including the global ban on child soldiers and landmines. In recognition of her efforts, the World Economic Forum named Loung one of the 100 global youth leaders of tomorrow. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Loung Ung.
All right, so I'm over 50, but I'm still youthful. Thank you so much for that introduction. What a day, what a place, what an event. It is an absolute honor to be here, to be in a room with so many people who do the hard, needed, wonderful work of peace building in our world. And though the title of my presentation is The Lens of a Human Story, this is actually a thank you letter to you all. And to all others out there who are every day doing the extraordinary work as ordinary human beings to build a more peaceful and just world. My thanks to Soledad, to the Hilton Family Foundation, and my heartfelt congratulations to Amazon Frontlines. For your victories is not only for the Amazon, it's just the victories for humanity. In many ways, the writing of my first book, First They Killed My Father, was my search to find my way forward, a way into peace and trust and care, a way out of the atrocity of the Khmer Rouge. But I didn't always believe I had the right to tell my story, or that my story was even worth listening, or that people would care. But then, while working in Washington, D.C. on the campaign to ban landmines, on April 15, 1998, I woke up to the news that Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge leader, had died. And in his last interview, he said and stated that what he did in Cambodia, he did for love. I collapsed onto the floor, tears flowing out of my eyes, and I started screaming at the radio, how dare he? How dare he? For love does not a genocide make. Love does not kill, love does not torture, love does not harm. And on that day, though I did not know how to write a book, I knew I wanted to negate Pol Pot's legacy of love by writing my own version. A tale of love through the lens of a human story. A love of parents and fathers and children and daughters and histories and nation. A love that is true and authentic and real. Not Pol Pot's version of the Khmer Rouge. A love that killed 1.7 to 2 million in a span of 4 years. And so with my pen, I set out to do this. Because history, the broad strokes of history, cannot convey all that we lost, all the humanity that disappeared in that war. What the world knew of Cambodia was this. On April 17, 1975, the communist Khmer Rouge stormed into my city, into my country, and with their guns and their threats, for the next 3 years, 8 months, and 20 days, they would enact this brutal genocidal campaign that would result in a quarter of the population dead from starvation, disease, hard labor, and execution, out of a population of 7 million people. And among the victims with both my two sister parents, and 20 other relatives. But broad strokes of history cannot tell what that actually meant to a person, to a human heart, a human story. They cannot convey the spirit of a girl who was loved by her family, who lived in a community where she belonged, who never felt like she was an other when looked upon. And they cannot tell the stories of her fathers, of gods and goddesses that expanded her dreams and imaginations, or the tales of family told by her mothers through bowls of steaming rice that filled not only her stomach but her heart. They cannot tell you the favorite memories of a girl, the girl I was, of going with my family of 9, my 3 brothers and 3 sisters on Sunday. We're in the dark in a room not unlike this. The screen would come down and the gods and goddesses would fight their epic battles to restore peace in our world. And in the dark, I would plop my behind on my father's lap. And he, without verbal communication, would turn his palms upwards. And I would put my food and drinks in his hands. For in Cambodia, we didn't have cup holders then. But when you have parents, family, brothers and sisters, there are no need for cup holders. And my father was my chair, his arms, my armrest, his hand, my cup holders. And happily, I would eat my junk food of choice, fried crickets, much crunchier than popcorn. Since having been returned to Cambodia on over 40 trips, I now have acquired a taste for fried tarantulas. If you have a fear of spiders, eat them. Fear gone. The broad strokes of history cannot tell you the fear that entered my body as a 5-year-old child and stayed for decades. And they stayed when the soldiers and their gun created a new utopian agrarian society where power would be taken from the elites and the builders and given to the revolutionaries, where schools, pagodas, mosques, churches were shut down, where to gather with more than 3 people were deemed illegal, punishable by imprisonment or executions. Where in my new life, everything I had taken for granted was banned or abolished. Where every day consisted of only Mondays, and every Monday a work day, and it did not matter if you were 6 or 60, you built dams, you built trenches, you grew food that would be shipped away by the soldiers to support a war we didn't want, we didn't know, we did not vote for. And one by one, our rights were taken. And yet we lived, dreaming of a way forward. Dreaming that someday, somewhere, someplace, there would be people to show us a way forward into peace, into love, into safety. I held on to that dream when the soldiers came for my father. I was 7 years old. I'd been living in a place where to believe differently from the regime, their policy was deem you an enemy of the state. And the Khmer Rouge solution for such enemies was to purge and crush them. I watched my mother say goodbyes to my father, her tears streaming down her face. I watched my father pick up my brothers and sister one by one in his arms. And when it was my turn, I had the instinctive heart to wrap my arms around him, to rest my face against the nape of his neck, to tell him I loved him. And when he walked off with into the sunset with the soldiers on either side of him, the gods had painted the sky that night with this palette of red and magenta and gold and beauty, and there was only hate in my world, in my heart. And still I dreamed and dreamt that there could be a way forward, that somewhere out there were people building this way forward for us. This was what I arrived to America with. To come to a place where there were so many people, good people, who were there, who do the hard work of showing us a way out of hate and hurt. I did not always believe in this power, and I am grateful to all of you, to all the people out there who do this good work of building peace in our world. In Vermont, a place I landed, for that was what they told me America was. 1980 Vermont was statistically the whitest state in America. There was nobody, very few people like me. Today it is still the whitest state in America. For more diversity, I eventually moved to Maine, the second whitest state in America. But in these places, I was not abandoned. People showed up to check on us, to take us to the grocery stores, to the laundromat, to walk me to school, to invite us to Thanksgiving dinners and Easter dinners and Christmas dinners. They all showed me through their kindness a way out of the rage. They showed me that though I've seen the worst of man's inhumanity, they were examples of the very best of man's humanity to man. And through their work, they also taught me this very wonderful, powerful lesson. It is that peace is not a wish. Peace is not something we wait to be granted. Peace is not something we merely dream about and hope others will deliver it. Peace is not something we ask the gods to give. Peace is an action. Peace is very many actions, whether it is in your home, in our community, in our world, in whatever abilities, in whichever way, for an hour, a week, or a week, a year. Peace requires us to choose this, for the right to choose is the highest freedom in our life. Peace is a choice. Peace is an action. Peace is a dedication. Peace is smiling hello. Peace is extending a helping hand. Peace is giving somebody a blanket. Peace is joining Amazon front lines. Peace is not a wish, and every time I watch the U.S. Miss America pageant and they say, "We wish for peace," I want to scream. No longer say, "I wish for peace," work for peace. And one of the ways we work for peace is with our actions, many actions. And the other ways we work for peace is by the stories we tell of ourselves, of each other, and of the world. As a young girl who was taught to hurt and to hate, and felt such hurt and such hate that I questioned whether my shattered heart could ever heal. That girl was given the opportunities because I was shown love and gratitude and compassion and kindness. I was introduced to people who did not follow the dictums of stories they shared, in which for decades now we have done in our world, which is, if it bleeds, it leads. Instead, they started a new narrative. And I challenge you to share stories, not if it bleeds, it leads always, but if it's awesome, let it blossom. Yeah. If it showcases humanity, share it widely. Those are the kind of stories that will heal a wounded heart, and through these opportunities, we give and become the light to those especially who have seen and witnessed the worst acts of man's inhumanity to man, and that made us question the goodness of man's humanity to man. We become that beacon of light, that possibility, that growth, that transformation, and it is what heals. These are all our human story. The tale of love through the lens of a human story. Let us charge this way forward together. Thank you.